Today we're going to be designing our own gnome home. So think about with the spring weather, we're going to be seeing lots of different trees and blooming as well as grass growing and leaves. And out comes all of our fun ornaments and decorations and things that we take out during the summer. So we're going to be creating our own house for a gnome, and we're going to create it like a flap. So this idea was originally inspired by Deep Space Sparkle and playing with some of those different ideas that they have to offer here and adding our own little twist. So let's take a look at the next thing are some of our examples of gardens. So where you would find a gnome home would be right around your garden. And there's so many different types of varieties. So you don't have to just draw grass for the background. You could have trees, you could have different flowers, you could have a certain scenery that you're looking for where you either have butterflies around or even really versatile, elaborate flowers like these here at Disney. All of their sculptures here made out of flowers. And then also think about, if you're inspired by adding some different pieces of furniture, because you're going to be a designer for this home that your gnome lives in. So think about in fairy gardens and gnome areas, homes that what would they have? What miniature pieces would they be adding in or using what their surroundings have for them? So do they have a pond nearby? Do they have tree branches and things that they'd be playing with and all those other simple things? So here's just a couple of their examples to show some more elaborate fairy gardens that you can find at any of your local hardware stores or plant stores during the season. And you can see how they decorate them and add in and incorporate different flowers and so forth to kind of make a backyard, a home, using lights and flowers and other rocks and so forth to create the home that they want to perceive. So let's take a look at some of these garden gnomes here. So some fun facts looking at garden gnomes is back in Germany, there was a sculptor in the 19th century, Philip Griebel, who came up with a garden gnome. And it wasn't until Sir Charles Isham brought 21 of these gnomes that were made out of clay. So imagine how big and heavy they must have been to England, and he put them in his garden. And he hid them all over different places because they're said to protect the garden and assist with the nightly garden duties. So that way your flowers and things are protected. So there's still only one that is left from all of those back in the 19th century, and he named it Lampy, and it's displayed in the Lampert Hall today in England. So the gnomes that we see today, a lot of them are based off or around like Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs from 1937. Now that we've talked about the different, history of gnomes as well as some garden ideas and scenery, what you're going to need today is a 12 by 18 piece of paper because we're going to be folding it. Let's start off with our pencil, and then we're going to be using scissors to cut out the shape of the house. You could stick with the mushroom shape, or you can elaborate on that and add some other features to it, or have it a tree trunk or something that really stands out for you. So we'll be using those, and then whatever other materials you have, whether it be crayons or markers or colored pencils. So start thinking a little bit about the shape that you want the gnome home to be, as well as what you might be adding inside of it. So today we're going to be using our 12 by 18 piece of paper. And what we want to use is to start, either a pencil, but I'm going to be using a black permanent marker pen, just so it's easier for you to see on the video here. We'll be going over everything with our colored pencils, crayons, markers, etc. later to really highlight it. So the first thing I want you to do is to fold it as best as you can into like a book. So we're not making it really long and skinny, we're making it nice and wide. So all I did was pull it up, to the one side, I matched the edges, and I really worked on that crease. What I want you, the most important thing to do is to have the fold at the top. So please make sure That once you get to this point that you check that the fold is at the top. Again, you're going to be using a pencil. I'm going to be using a marker in order for you to be able to see it a lot better. So the first thing that we're going to do is start kind of off the center of the top, and we're going to draw these two arcs on the edges. And this is going to be the top of our home. The next thing you're going to do is bring it in kind of a wavy format, as you can see. And then I'm going to make it wider at the bottom here. And I'm going to kind of follow with it, but make it a little bit longer and come up. Once you've done that, now what I'm going to have you do is let's think about how things look so they look realistic. On the left side here, I'm going to curve it like a little bit angled like a C, but elongated. And once you get to the middle, it's going to almost be vertical, just about. And that's usually how things work. And after that, you're going to start curving it a different way, like a backward C, as it's going to the right side. So you're kind of leaning it on the left side, going straighter in the middle, and leaning it to the right when you get to the right side. This gives an illusion that it's more rounded and things are going into the back. Now what we're going to do is add the stem, and we do want this to be wider because this is going to be how we design our house. So it's almost going to look like a big lamp right now with a weird shade. So you can change up this shape however you'd like, but make sure that it's nice and wide. The next thing is to start considering what do you exactly want to do to add on to it. You can add a door, you can add on, the mushroom circle tops. So that's what I'm going to do is adding in some of those shapes. Have some of those things, they don't have to be exact circles. You can see part of them, all of them, make them different sizes. Leave a space if you'd like to have a window or say a balcony up there at the very top. It's up to you. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space there so that way I can draw a window. So here will be my fun little window, and I'll make like a little flower edge. Now, the only downside of me using a marker at this point instead of a pencil is when I'm doing these really fine, tiny details, it's going to make it hard for me to color in and add the flower colors later. Because the black of this thick marker is really the lines itself make it really difficult to see. Now, I will have this handout for you. It's available where I'll show you the different doors and windows, and it's a great resource that Deep Space Sparkle has. So here, I want you to take your time and think about what style door are you going to add. Are you going to make it a unique one? Are you going to make it a simple, normal one? Or is it like really tall or short? Is it a secret hidden door and you have to do something in order to open it up? What inspires you? So what I want you to do is just take the time now and decorate the outside however you please. Make sure it's school appropriate, obviously, and add in as many windows, maybe some plants and things on the front, lights if you'd like, whatever you would like. So one thing I wanted to point out is we're going to get ready to use our scissors. So I want you to make sure that you find those. And before we do so, let's thicken and darken those lines. So you'll see here, as you might have caught from the previous, is I'm just going around the edges and I'm darkening. I'm making a nice thick kind of shadow-like effect. And this is just going to help me so when I cut it, if I do happen to cut off some or, just it helps guide me a little bit so I don't cut off too much when I am drawing or cutting this out. So after you have done that nice dark outline for these edges here, what you're going to do is you're going to cut along the top fold edge. So I'm going to turn this, first open it because we don't want to cut both sides. We just want the top sheet. So I'm going to cut along the fold, which is why it was important that we drew at the top there. And I'm not going to go all the way across. Instead, I am going to cut only that side off. And I'm going to do that on both sides as well. You can work in small little areas and work your way up. What I like to do is just start with cutting off an edge, and then I go in and I make a smaller piece, and then I go and cut a little bit more. So I'll place that to the side, and then I will cut this next little part here, but what you don't want to do is cut that entire top sheet off. So you'll notice now when I go to close it, I have the back of the paper showing, and the front part is only going to be the gnome home. So again, I'm going to follow along that folded edge, and I'm going to stop once I get to my drawing. I'm not cutting both sheets of paper at the same time. I'm only cutting the top sheet. And I want you to cut around your home shape. So do that until you get that entire sheet completed. As you can see now, you are able to lift up just the house and place it back down. So now what we're going to do is let's take a look at outline again. And this is where we're going to be using that top part that we just cut around as our template. So we're going to trace around it again. Don't worry about making this one thick. What we're going to use this as is what the inside of our house looks like, because we're going to be interior designers for this part of our home. So once you've outlined and traced it, you're going to lift it up and you will see the outline or the silhouette of your home. So what I want you to do is just go around it and make it have a second little border by doing it on the inside. You don't want to do the outside because otherwise you're going to see it like a weird shadow. So this is just going to be internal, okay? Now, once you've done that, the next step is let's work on adding stairs together. So here you're going to do a square and you're going to keep building it up. And I realize as I'm doing this now, it makes it difficult being a left-handed person. So all I'm doing is drawing a line up, over, across, and back together, and it's creating a stair effect. So I'm going to continue building these stairs all the way up. If you have a different method or a different way that you want to create stairs, go right ahead. But you want to be able to use this to get all the way to the top. So maybe you want to add an elevator, or your gnome, instead of taking the stairs, has an escalator, or some other fun function of a way to be able to get all the way up to that top part of the home. So you'll just connect these, get to the top, and there will be our awesome stairs. And from here, I want you to start playing with what are you going to add? Are you going to add in different, this is where I'll use my pencil, which I know sometimes can be a little difficult to see. But where's your floor going to be? We always talk about our horizon line. So here, let's make the baseline of where our floor is so we know what is wall and what is floor for at least that top half. And we've already worked a little bit with perspective this year. So what I want you to do is play around with adding different features inside. Are you going to add a chimney, a bed, big bookcase, you're going to have a whole kitchen. What does your gnome like to have? Are they playing video games often? Um, what's something that you wish your ultimate bedroom or home would have? Maybe there's a pool in the basement, whatever you want it to be. So take this time to have fun with creating the interior of your home. Once you've gotten your interior designed, what you're going to do is think about what the background is going to be. So here I'm just doing a simple design of adding in some tall grass, um, leaves and things. You can add in butterflies or other things that you want to have, flowers blooming around. It's completely up to you. Where have you placed your gnome home? So think about, do you want it to be hidden in the grass or is it going to be visible? It's up to you. So I'm just adding in some different blades of grass here, tall, short, and I'm going to make sure I color those in with different types of greens. So here you can see that you can see the outside and then the flap, you lift it up and you got the next part. So the next thing I want you to do is go in and start coloring. And take your time as you do this. What I'm using is a mixture of markers and crayons. I like the effect that the markers and crayons give each other. So I'm kind of going through and going back and pushing harder with a crayon to create some value. And then I'm going in, kind of outlining as well with a marker to get some different colors and things in here as well. So just take your time. You might find that you keep going back and forth using crayons, markers, darkening, adding more value, etc. But that's what makes the process so fun, is you can see it coming back. Nothing's done the first time you do it. So I just enjoy adding in, as you can see even with the blue here, as I pushed really hard with the blue crayon along the edge, and then I was able to make it lighter as I went in. And then here I'm using different colors of the markers, lighter green and a darker green in order to get that contrast. So you take your time, create the scenery and so forth that you want to do. In this video, I did not finish coloring all the inside of my home, but I would like you to do all of that for me, please.